Screen? Cool, perfect. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Sana Talwar. As Kelly mentioned, I'm a cybersecurity engineer in the broadest of terms, and I'm so excited to be here talking about like a plethora of cybersecurity topics with you guys. I'm going to preface this by the fact that OSINT is still very new to me, and I'm still learning. And I hope you guys have good questions. So next time I can come back with more info. Yeah, so I'm gonna get started on talking about OSINT. And first and foremost, what is OSINT? I'm gonna go over a quick definition of it. So OSINT, or open source intelligence, it's like the practice of collecting information from published or otherwise publicly available resources. I think I got that literally from Wikipedia. But basically, it's advanced techniques to search through like the haystack of what internet comprises of in order to find the needles that you are looking for. In a lot of public information and like OSINT data, it's not very well known just because sometimes people don't realize what really they're putting out there, like what's public. Also, the term OSINT was originally coined after a kind of spycraft. So OSINT in many ways like mirrors the image of like OPSEC. So think about like a classic like spy movie, right? What's the first thing they do is like research or do reconnaissance on like their target. And this is almost exactly the same, just in a cyber and a more computer-based format. Yeah, and really quick, another PSA that we have here, like any cybersecurity topic, is all of this is just for information and research. Please, whatever tools you use, be sure that you're not pushing on any legal issues. Like what I'm looking at right now, or what I'm going to be showing you, is very general public information, and any other information, data that was like password protected or obtained by deception or anonymously aggregated can have legal complications. Just be aware of that. On that note, also in like military attacks, the first step begins with reconnaissance. And right now, the first step for most things right now, especially in a remote world, is digital reconnaissance, which is basically passively acquiring intelligence without alerting your target. Moving on, we'll start with a meme. I thought it was pretty funny. I like cats. I thought it was pretty good. With the fact that, you know, like everybody's tracking us, or like every app that we're on is tracking our things. So like there's spies everywhere. Some we don't even realize. So some of the common OSINT resources would start from like metadata search, or like your search engines like Google, DuckDuckGo, Bing, your social media, online communities, email addresses, usernames, and everything in that list is important information to something or somebody. And the fact that these are publicly available makes the target even more be susceptible to being attacked. Oh, also like the last one, the biggest one, is data breaches and leaks. If you've ever checked out, or like if you're ever like buried to cybersecurity news, there's a breach almost every day. LinkedIn gets pretty big breaches at least once every year. Facebook just had a really massive breach that had about 500 billion user accounts, not people, information listed out, so like just that were breached. So for that, that leads into people-based OSINT. So I think my first idea of this presentation was to talk about how to almost kind of OSINT yourself and see what information you have publicly available out there. And I'm gonna do a little repeat from my last presentation. It's this really cool website called Have I Been Pwned? And if you click on it, or like if you look at just haveibeenpwned.com, you can search your email address or your phone and see if your information has been publicly available in any breaches. So these are the largest breaches currently occurring. Where's the Facebook one is right here, 500 million accounts that were listed. Wattpad had a really good one. MySpace had a really big one. Maybe you might have forgotten to delete your MySpace account from years and years ago. Who knows? But this is a great little website to know where you are at and what passwords you definitely need to change. And also I'm going to be going back and forth with the slides, so please let me know if I need to slow down or fast forward. Next on, I'm going to talk about something a little weird, but Facebook has a multitude of resources, like, like let's say you're going on an app, or you're starting a new company, or you're just trying to meet new people and you moved into a new city. Like, what's one of the first things you do when you meet another person? It's you Google their name, you check out their Facebook profile, you try to find their Instagram and try to get more information about this person. So with that, like, that's kind of already a little bit known. But one really cool thing, OSINT tip that I have, is Facebook has this thing called the Facebook ads library. And if you click on it, it tracks all the ads that marketers have used Facebook for. So let's say you have, this is like a very side note tip, but let's say you want to go to Whole Foods today and get groceries. And you go on this website, you check out Whole Foods, and this would scrape all the ads that the Facebook has currently of Whole Foods, which can help you get coupons, get more deals, and see if you're running a business, see what your competitions are running as your ads. So these are all like the things that I think is really cool. I've looked at here, like I think I saw this company about like jeans or whatever, and I looked back up here again after like a week and I found like a coupon for it here. Slight tip from Sana. But that's really cool, and it shows all the ads that Facebook is currently hosting at the moment. For LinkedIn, I know LinkedIn is very common to use for OSINT, very known website. Everybody almost has a LinkedIn account, and you can look up all their public information. But if you're a recruiter and you wanted to look at, and you're trying to recruit more people to your company, your organization, one tool you could use is recruitin.net. And it's a really cool search engine, aside from Google, which helps you. Let's say we were looking at accountants in New York City. And education is like a degree. And if you click on find the right people, it gives you the exact query on Google. It's really specific, in a really specific manner, that can find you the person exactly with your specifications, and you can go as specific as you'd like, depending on your needs. The next one I thought was pretty common, but Kelly told me it's not. This is my thing that I definitely do 100% when I'm online dating. Is I have a CAPTCHA, one sec. And it's boats, so.
I was gonna say, good thing. You should get this one right.
Yeah, I was like on brand. Okay, boat. Done. Okay. True people search in OSINT views is very, very common, and you can search your name, your zip code, and it has information for almost everybody as far as I've checked, at least. And also, you can there's a way you can remove yourself from these kind of sites too. And there was one time where I had to call them and be like, I have a lawyer on my side, and I threatened legal action, because technically whatever they're doing is legal. They're scraping the web to find information about people, but I just didn't want my information on there. And I threatened legal action, which I had no basis for, but they called my, like they didn't call my bluff, they believed me, and they removed my information. So you can search your name, see who you're in this little search engine, see who you're related to. It also talks, I think it had connections to like my second cousins that I haven't spoken to in years. And I'm like, how do they know that we're related? I have no idea. They're not on my social media. Like I don't know exactly where they got it from, but they're very, very good at scraping the web. And another really common tool that I've used is PimEyes. And again, this is kind of something I found when I was online dating, because you don't know like if what profile is real, what's not. So this is a reverse image search, better than Google's reverse image search in my opinion, where you can upload a photo and see what it got, like gives it back to you. And I have found some fake profiles from this. So just a little tip, especially in like the pandemic, if you're meeting people from online, please research them just to be safe. This is a starting point. And then we move on to Google dorking. Has anybody heard of Google dorking before? I'm just curious. Thumbs up? No? Okay. No worries. There's something I learned like very recently as well. So basically it's known as like Google hacking. What you do is you type your query in with specific syntax, and it returns hard to find information with very quickly. It searches with strings and advanced search operators to find information about like very specific things. Yeah, and it does find sometimes like very hidden information on public websites, and most people use it in terms of like either OSINTing people or OSINTing for your company's websites, and to see what kind of information is publicly available about your organization or your web-facing technologies. So here's a little like few little examples I have of Google dorking. So they have these syntax words and operators like that specify what you're looking for. So there's things called cite. You can specify your file type. You can specify the kind of text, and like there's one that's like entitled. And I was gonna go through a few of these examples really quickly with everybody. So let's say I want to look for something specifically on SANS.org. I would go on Google and specify, so site SANS.org. Right, so now this entire search will specifically be based on whatever's on SANS.org. So let's say OSINT. So now it searches SANS.org specifically for anything OSINT related. This really helps a lot with like research. You can specify your file type, so anything on nasa.gov with a file type PDF. If you plug in these specific syntax operators, you very easily can look at all the PDFs, every single PDF that nasa.gov has publicly hosted. Same thing for the next one. Or I thought this was pretty fun, where you can find like an Excel spreadsheet of house prices in London. And if we do that, that's this is like the most popular one, I guess, and you can compare any information you need. And I think one of the scary ones I have is the file type txt and email.txt. So let's say you're trying to phish people or scam people, and you're looking for a big email list. I think the first thing I always do is find like the publicly open list of emails from anywhere. And this would be my first step to do that. And here you can find a lot of not only code, but probably lists that have a bunch of random emails that somebody didn't protect with a password on here. Also, I do want to mention one of the reasons I'm not clicking on any links right now is because OSINT is one of the things where it's like you have all the tools to do malicious things, but if you do them, the legality can be weird about it. It's in the same sense, like we all have knives in our kitchen, but are we using the knives is different. It's like a different situation. So just that's like how I look at it. But yeah, and then the next one I think is the scariest of them all. So if you look up anything with a file type log that has password after 2016 with the specific with these three email email consoles, and with this one I think is the worst of them all. Like right here, there's an email account where the password I'm sure is in like the next line. More email account, I lost my password. Login 12345 password, this random number. And yeah. So there's lots of publicly available resources that people have not been protecting. So be very careful when you're putting stuff out on the web. And as you can see, this was like a Google query. Literally, if I run it again and I clicked on the link and I had malicious intentions, I could easily do some damage. So that's Google dorking. It has personally helped me a lot in researching and trying to find specific PDFs about like specific topics, easily and readily available. Would recommend. Any questions on Google dorking, by the way? Before
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Because some of the things you brought up, this the one with LinkedIn, I think it was the recruiting, or how you can just search LinkedIn via Google, and now this Google dorking. I used to do like lead generation as part of a job I had. Is that a legal method to generate leads if you kind of just search for a certain domain name and an email?
No.
Okay.
It would be illegal if you tried to phish them, or if you're trying to like if you email them and we're putting malicious links in it to like reroute them to get access to their machines. But just having that information and soliciting an email about like a job opportunity, let's say, it's publicly open information, you can use that.
Cool.
Yeah. So again, Google dorking, careful, but pretty fun to play around with.
Do you want to just quickly explain what phishing is, if it's a new concept for anyone? I know it's off topic because it could be its own event, but just briefly.
Oh yeah, so phishing is basically like kind of in the spectrum of like spear phishing, where you're in a boat and you put a spear fish down and see what catches. It's the same thing with email. So you have like, let's say I'm an adversary trying to get information about people or trying to hack somebody. What I would do is get a giant email list, send everybody like, hey, I know your password, or click on this link to go here. And that's a phishing attempt where they try to phish you with like a catchy title and get you to click on a link that reroutes them, either remote code access to your machine, or it gives them your credentials in any way. And I think a lot of companies are now being more aware of it, because a lot of companies have been hacked due to phishing attempts. I think one of the dental offices, like right where I used to live, got hacked by a phishing attempt because one of the receptionists was on her email. She saw a post about like a dog. She opened it. And they had like a backdoor in it. So the whole like dental office got hacked, and they had like a whole like Bitcoin crisis where they were like, ransomware crisis, where it's like, you have been hacked. You can't access your information until you give like this much Bitcoin to us or whatever. But so it goes in extremes. But mostly like spam usually catches it. But if it doesn't, they usually ask for like money or like Bitcoin. Yeah, and spear phishing specifically is like targeted information. So they're like really looking for like that person knew that the receptionist was like a dog person, or like she was gonna click on that photo kind of thing. So it was like specific. I also have another really cool tool called Sherlock, which hunts down social media accounts, and I'll show you some examples. So let's say our target is John McAfee. And here's his Twitter. We have the username official McAfee. But do we know that's the real person? Do we have any other accounts relating to that username? Let's find out. So if you download this tool called Sherlock, if you have like a Unix-based machine, it's like 2 commands. It's pip install Sherlock, or like Python install Sherlock. But if you have a Windows machine, it's a little bit longer of a process. And I can share that link later. It's like a very quick like GitHub README. But I have the tool installed, and let's say I want to try to use it. I think it's really cool where it's like just a Python file. .py. and then official McAfee -- print. So I'm only looking for the tag -- print found basically does is like it prints out only the use cases where that username has been found. And this is gonna take a second and I'm probably gonna kill it because it takes a little bit longer. But so it scrapes the web with its repository and looks for every single social media account that it has in their database that might have this official McAfee username. And at the end of it, it gives like a text file of like, here are all these accounts where I have like the official McAfee as the username. And I think it's really cool because like a lot of people reuse usernames. I know I have in the past. I can show a good example of mine. So let's say you know my Instagram, and I can just figure that. It's gonna take a while. Let's say you knew my Instagram and my Instagram username is Sunflower because I think it's punny and cute. Let's say you had access to my Instagram and you had this access to this tool and you wanted to find out a little bit more about me. You would use Sherlock to find what other accounts that might have the name as Sunflower. And I'm gonna let it go for a minute. And this goes back on the fact where a lot of people talk about how you should never reuse passwords. And I completely agree with that. But I think reusing usernames is also like coming up like a common theme where if somebody's trying to target you or your organization, they can really build up like a good story behind just like your username if you've reused it in multiple times. So it's very careful about what you put online, even if it's like password protected and whatnot. I'm gonna see how long this takes.
I know that's kind of terrifying because I'm thinking about all of my like accounts that are just kelly.amlist, which is also my email at work. And like I don't have control over that one.
Yeah, I know like a lot of people, there was a funny story where there was like somebody was like at a wedding and somebody was having a wedding and they sent like a wedding invitation to like all the usernames of the billionaires or millionaires they found. And it's super easy to find it. Like if you know the company, like it's probably first name dot last name or something along those lines. So like this was like not malicious. It's like, hey, I'm having a wedding and hoping to get like a free gift or like a funny thank you or something, right? But like if you really had like email accounts like Mark Zuckerberg or something, like you could do some kind of damage or you have like weird access that most people don't. Yeah, so that's interesting.
Interesting, she says.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a very fine line of like what you can and can't do. And then like legal issues comes up. So like I've been very careful about just like I've never been on like the darknet, let's say, like I've never used like a Tor browser. Very common to do it. It's not illegal to do it at all, but like so much on it is like very fine line of what can be caused as legal or not. So yeah, so this has finished, and I think what I thought was funny that I didn't even realize. So I made a Venmo account like back like freshman year of college. It was just like that's how we like distributed money, and apparently like my Instagram and my Venmo have the same username, and I never even thought about it for like 5 seconds. This is my roommate and us doing like grocery at like and Taco Bell nights at 1 a.m. So one of the things I wanted to emphasize with this was like basically like if you have like common usernames, you have like they can build a story around you and like see who you're associated to, like as simple as like, you know, they can find your Venmo and that jazz. But very common tool to use on like, again, your online dating people. If you have their Instagram, you can see what else they have. I don't know. I like knowing stuff. So yeah, that was people-based OSINT. And now I'm gonna move on to a little bit of like a website-based OSINT or like a web-based OSINT, not so people. So has anybody heard of the file called robots.txt? It's pretty common in like the dev environment. Okay. I only heard about it in like some CTFs that I was in where people were just like, just look at the robots.txt file. And I'm like, what do you mean? So basically every single website that if you can find it on Google, which means like most of public information, has a robots.txt file. It's a text file that's supposed to tell the search engine crawlers which pages or files in your directory and domain the crawler can or cannot request from your site. And this is mainly, again, to avoid overloading and availability issues, but it's not a mechanism for like keeping the web page out of Google. Basically, and like if you want to keep a web page out of Google, there's like, you have to password protect it or like list it in like no index directives. But I can show you how cool this can be with just like facebook.com, which is again like very like publicly available site. And you can also Google, I think Google has, it's really weird, Google also has a robots.txt file. So if I do facebook.com/robots.txt, so these are all the directories like Ajax, album.php that is like not allowed for something like a Google web crawler to access. But if you look all the way down, these are all the things that like are allowed. So within this, if you're like trying to do OSINT on like a website or a domain or a web browser or like a website, this would be like one of my first steps to be like, actually what directories are there? So I don't know if Facebook had like a /Ajax bootloader or /watch, or sometimes a lot of people have like /admin that's not password protected. So you can go on like your website /admin and have all this information that somebody forgot to password protect. So it just gives you like a whole bunch of information that can be used for whatever you want it to, like whatever your case of use is. But it's good research to see like what directories are open and what are not. Yeah, and actually I think I mentioned this last time, if you don't remember, I'm trying to hack into a box on Hack the Box. And I'm getting help from a mentor, and basically what Hack the Box does is like gives you like vulnerable VMs where you can like go in and see if you can break it and trying to find a flag. And one of the answers I did get was from a robots.txt file. And so that's pretty cool. And it was like, it was vulnerable on purpose, but still a lot of people like make the mistakes, especially when you're starting out and maybe you didn't know kind of thing. So it can be useful and malicious. So there's also a lot of web scans that are going on. So I think the first thing I wanted to show was the directory of insecure cams. So currently this is like this is a repository of all the live cameras that have weak passwords or no passwords in the world. So let's say we wanted to go to New York City. So currently in New York City, this website has access to 123 open web security cameras that don't have passwords or have weak passwords on them. And you can just see where like people, and this is public information because again, there's no password protection. So this website is legally okay to like have access to this. And there's 21 pages of this, which is, I think, like, yikes. With all the IoT devices coming, like this looks like somebody's like house. Yeah, but this is very, very common. IoT device security is very, very important. They have been like very commonly hacked also in the news recently. If you want some like horror stories, like IoT devices are like the #1 go-to to be like hacked. Google also has a Google hacking database, which I think is really cool. So it's hosted by ExploitDB. And it's basically along the same creds of Google dorking, but these are like very specific vulnerabilities. So let's say I click on this one. So this is specifically like this Google dork gives you sensitive directory details of misconfigured servers. So if you like plugs it into Google right now, this would give you all the sensitive directories with servers that were not configured properly, which again, kind of scary. Or this one I just think is just, yeah, it just gives you like, if you do entitled web user login, will give you some information along those lines. And there's 427 pages of these, so this goes in deep. Also another one, username like password, username and password, files containing password, yikes. But also, yeah, if you create any of these and you think of one, this is again open source, like random people have made these up, so which is really cool. Yeah, and there's also a tool called URL scan, which gives you information about any URL site. So let's say if I wanted to do like womenwhocode.com, if Women Who Code was my target for whatever reason, it would publicly scan womenwho.com. And I've tried this before, there's nothing there. But just like as like a quick example of what information could be out there. It's gonna take a second. Okay, yeah. So it has been scanned 6 times with this website. One of them was me already. So it's currently connected in 3 countries, 12 domains, 35 HTTP transactions hosted by, they have like the IPs, detail, domains, domain tree. So if you were an application security based hacker, this would be really informative to know what this website is hosted on, or what kind of like frameworks. Yeah, and it links to all of these sites, which again, if there's communication in between them, could be like an opportunity for a man-in-the-middle attack or something like that. Yeah, but basically this website, if your target is a website, this would be, I think, one of my first places to do OSINT and look at whatever's publicly available information about them to see what attack venues I can start moving forward. Similarly, we also have public www.com, which very cool. So I think this one's even like more scarier to me, because you can go on examples, and let's say I wanted to see like WordPress. But a lot of websites right now are hosted on like WordPress or like any what are some other openly like default, like GoDaddy is one of them. Are there any kind of common ones that I'm missing?
Wix was recommended.
Wix was a good one, yeah. So all these frameworks, again, they're coming up with new version numbers as quick as possible and have like patches coming up. So let's say I wanted to go on like WordPress 3.8.5. I'll take a second. So yeah, I've been researching this for a while, so like I need to sign up, and I think I lost my free access. But it gives you like all the website, and I think the account is just like a username, like an email and like a password. So anybody could like sign up for an account and look at all the websites hosted with specifically WordPress 3.8.5. So let's say this website, and for example, I wanted to host like a malicious attack. Like now that I know this website is vulnerable to, or like is dependent on this version, what I would do is go back into like the exploit DB almost and search for WordPress 3.8.5. Hopefully it should have something. Oh no. Or I can just Google it, and I can guarantee you it's gonna pop up something. There you go. So yeah, these are all the CVEs or vulnerabilities right now that WordPress 3.8.5 is vulnerable to. So the first one, that was in 2019. So any WordPress version before 5.2.3 allows for cross-site scripting imposed used by authenticated users. So this is very quick. Like if I wanted to like attack this one website that has this specific version and I knew it, because it was publicly available, I could run this, I could run many exploits and see where I can gain access or gain access to like sensitive information. Kind of scary because I feel like I have tried the GoDaddy websites and like the Wix websites, and I've deleted them now, but like scary to think like that version, like if you didn't update like the version number, all the vulnerabilities you could be not thinking about. Yeah, and then I think one of the biggest OSINT tool right now for web-based stuff is Shodan. Very interesting tool, very, very scary in my opinion. I don't use it very often or ever. But yeah, this is like, besides like Google, I guess, this is a search engine for cybersecurity vulnerabilities. So you could go and like explore like Internet of Things, you can monitor things. And let's say if we go and explore, we can explore like open webcams, default passwords. So if I click here, these are all the IP addresses right now that have accounts with default password creds. Right now, enable and telnet passwords are configured to password. SSH is admin and password. So all this information can be used very mysterious ways. And one example that I had, I always look for like admin and like the password to be admin as a username and password to be 1234. And if I just search those things, these are all the IP addresses with those default creds right now. And so in Russia, there's 970. In Poland, there's 303. And yeah, so the more you know. And Shodan can do so much more. I didn't want to overboard this presentation with all the things it can do. But very, very powerful.
There
yes.
was a question in the chat. How would you find the owner operator behind a Cloudflare hosted website?
Specifically, I don't know about Cloudflare, but I'm sure you could probably have like specific titles in Shodan or Googling it, but specific quotations of Cloudflare. I don't know Cloudflare too well specifically, but I think Shodan would be my first step. And then I have a little thing, if you're interested in learning about OSINT or want to do more, OSINT framework is the best tool out there, and it's extremely detailed. So basically it starts like, what are you looking for? Language translation, metadata, dark web, digital currency. Let's say we were looking at like emails. Are we looking for common email formats, breach data? So let's say I was looking at like the newest LinkedIn breach. And these are all the tools that you could use to find breach data emails. And basically it just links you to every single one of these websites that have this information almost congruently together. But you can go like, again, if you want to go on like the dating route, you can see match.com, and it will give you all the information that you need for that kind of thing for you users. That's cool. But yeah, if you want to look at more usernames, so on and so forth, username search engines, these are all of them. Or these are like the most common ones, I guess. Yeah, that's a really cool, I think, framework that anybody can get started on. It's very like click and go, and there's tutorials on OSINT almost like everywhere. This entire presentation was a crowdsourced event. It was all through OSINT. So I think this is like one of the easiest, I would say, topics to get started on and to learn more about cybersecurity and move on from, and you can move on from this pretty quickly and build your knowledge. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about like protecting yourself. And the reason I have protecting quotations is basically, I want to talk a little bit more about like you trying to find out what information about you is on the internet and what you're comfortable with. Because like everybody, like if my entire Facebook was public, I would have like no repercussions. Like nothing in there is like fishy, or like nothing in there is weird for me to be embarrassed about it being there. But Facebook knowing, or like the Google, or like the internet knowing that I'm connected to person A or person B can be used against me in some way, if I was ever targeted. So information like it's like, I know there's a lot of people that are like, hey, I really don't care what like what's there about what information is out there about me, which is fine. That's perfectly okay. But all this information can be used to target you in something as simple as like ads. The more information about you is like the more targeted ads you can get on your system. And I don't know if like how many people are comfortable with that kind of information. So it's mostly about like protecting like what you want out of like your internet life. So yeah, some like common tips are like have strong passwords, encrypt and back up all data. This is like the only mitigation for a ransomware attack. If you ever have like your computer locked out, the only thing you can really do, minus paying like the Bitcoin, which you don't know if you're gonna, even after you pay like the ransom, if you're ever gonna have your information back kind of thing, is just have a backup of all your data. So you can just delete that machine and have everything back up. Use VPNs. And what I think is really important right now with everybody being remote and everybody being like on the internet almost constantly is a data detox. There's this great website that does like an 8-day data detox, and it goes through like see like what your location footprint is, like reduce your traces in terms of like even switching tools from like going from like Google search like DuckDuckGo, which is very notoriously known for like to protect your information, or using like Firefox instead of Google Chrome. Firefox is very lean on like your privacy issues, or adding a simple Chrome extension like Privacy Badger or Ad Blocker, just to have like your more cohesive experience of like your information isn't going everywhere that you don't even know. And after all of that thing, all the ways OSINT can be used like maliciously, or like your information, how much information could be out there. There's one really good scenario that I think OSINT is used for like good. So there's this like a CTF like competition where it's a crowdsourced OSINT event for finding missing people. So what they do is like people have teams, they have like files of like person A or person B that have been missing in the past so many years. And people like, it's like a hackathon style thing where if you were like the OSINTer, you would go into this file and try to find any other public information about this missing person that you could find and give it to the authorities. They do have a rules of engagement at the end where it's like, disclaimer, we don't get involved in like theorizing or speculating. We only do OSINT, and we don't go over the bad guys. We're not the police. But I think it's like really good that like you're using like your skills and technology to like do good in the world and like find people that have been like missing. And a lot of law enforcement officers might not have like the time or the expertise to do things like this. I'm glad hackers, quote unquote, are serving the public and trying to find missing people. I think it's just like a really like wholesome thing to do. Yeah, and that's the end of my presentation. Here's my contact information if you ever want to have a chat about cybersecurity. I'm always interested. I'm also on the Women Who Code Slack, so you can always ping me there and I'll respond.
There was a question. Do you have any recommendations for backing up your data?
Hard drives, external hard drives for sure. I think I asked for Christmas. It was like I asked my dad for like a 1 terabyte hard drive for Christmas. And that was a great gift for me.
We do have some time for some more questions. If anyone has them, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. While you're thinking, if you have any last questions, I'll just give a shout out. One, thank you, Sana. My eyes were like bugging out of my head this entire time because I was just like, oh my God, this is all very terrifying, but extremely cool. So just a shout out to We have like a bunch of more events coming up for When We Knew Code. If you want to meet more people, get some networking and socializing, and we have a chapter social on Wednesday. We usually play some games, get to meet a bunch of new people. Sun has actually done some of our games for us before, so that's a nice little link there. Yeah, we have a bunch of other ones. Feel free to join us on our Slack channel. I shared the link a bunch of times, so it's in the chat. You'll find all of our events on Meetup. If you need anything from me, I'm at Kelly. She's at Sana on the Slack channel. I'm just looking at the chat. Yes, I have a list of all the links because Sana sent them to me ahead of time, which is how I was able to get them to you also promptly. I will share that in the cybersecurity channel on our workspace. So please feel free to find them there. I believe also, as long as Sana's okay with it, we'll also put the slide deck in there so people can see it in the future. So that is the best place to find all that information. There was one quick question. Do you also use a remote backup?
Just for my iPhone, I use iCloud. That's about it. But it's on a very strong password.
What do you consider a very strong password?
I have 20 characters and it's a passphrase, not even a password. I have 20 characters and then I have at least like 7 or 8 special characters. It's hard to remember, but
and you remember it?
It's like that. That's like the good thing about like a passphrase, right? Because it's like a saying that you know. So like I know the saying and like I just have to remember like where am I using the characters.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember that from my cybersecurity class that they were like, if it's a bunch of words that aren't related, that's actually just as hard as anything else to guess.
Yeah.
A couple of questions that came in. Do you have an opinion about like password vaults such as 1Password? Are they safe?
I don't have any strong opinions on one. I think whatever you think is best is usually fine. I don't have like a one specific one that I like love or anything. Oh, and also another PSA. So I think I forgot to say it before, but like Google has a lot of free tools like Gmail, Google Docs. I have my slides are on Google Slides. And they are like free for a reason. I do want to put it out there. Like sometimes like you don't think about it, but like the reason they're free is because they are using your information to pay for their services. So just be careful about like everything you say on the internet, especially if it's free.
Which I believe was the answer to Jade's question, which was, do you recommend using the Chrome suggested passwords? And I believe that was the exact answer.
I have a question. I'm trying to migrate away from Google everything. Now I've already switched to Brave, and I've already like got off Facebook. My only regret is that I did not delete my data before I closed my account because I know it's still out there somewhere. But Gmail, like I don't want any Google products at all. So would you recommend another more secure email account?
That's a great question. I personally still use Google just because I'm a noob. I don't. There's Proton Mail. I think that's what it's called. I think aside from Google, I think Firefox would be like the best browser for you to use. Yeah, it's called Proton Mail. I think that's my favorite one outside of Google. Also, if you're using like more apps like Messenger or WhatsApp or anything like that, I would recommend Signal. Just for like your chatting purposes. Signal has been really good with like their encryption and handling security breaches. Yeah, I know it's so weird. I know a few people that have like a very separate computer just for their banking. They have a very like the only thing they do on their computer, it's air gap. They have like a different subnet on their Wi-Fi for it too. And they only use it for their banking and the entire laptop for going on bankofamerica.com just to keep it separate.
Interesting. I'm gonna end our recording here.